Welcome, LaunchCode students. This is the very first lecture of LaunchCode's web development course. We are in Unit 1. This course will cover programming concepts and JavaScript. We'll get into a little bit of React toward the end. But on day 1, I just want to talk a little bit about the fundamentals of the things that you need to be able to continue in this course. We're going to talk about topics from chapters 1 through 3, some of the introductory work you would have done even before showing up to class today. And I'll also talk a little bit about how to succeed at LaunchCode because this course is difficult. I want to share some of my perspective with you, both as an instructor, but also from my time as a student, because I was in your shoes not that long ago, and I want to give you the benefit of my experience. So let me go ahead and get into talking about how to succeed here. I'll talk a little bit about, just getting the most out of LaunchCode, all the things that make LaunchCode awesome, and how you can take advantage of all of those things to really soak up the knowledge and be prepared, well prepared for a career in tech. I'll also go into some of the course tools and resources that we use here so that you can understand what's what and be a little bit more prepared for all of the different things that'll be coming your way there. And then just the expectations and not just our expectations for you, but also what you can expect from me as your instructor. And then just a little bit of advice and encouragement because I've been where you are, and I know that there are things that helped me get through this course that can help you too. So let's jump into getting the most out of LaunchCode. So, welcome to the very beginning of this. Just getting into this course is an accomplishment. It's hard to get into LaunchCode. The first thing you need to understand is that it's very hard. It's intense. There's a lot of material that gets thrown at you very quickly, and you're going to have to work really, really hard. There's no such thing as coasting through LaunchCode. So just if you know that now and you are ready to give it your all, then you can really do well here. So just to break it down, units 1 and 2 will give you your technical training where you're learning, languages and frameworks and things. And then the liftoff unit is where we actually talk about how to prepare for a career. There will be the things like, resume prep and interview prep, building a capstone project with a group of your peers to show what you've learned. After that, you can take any trajectory you would like, and you will be able to grow your career with a solid foundation from what you've learned here. All right, let's talk about some of the tools and resources. Canvas, you already are familiar with. This is where you have your syllabus. You can complete your quizzes and exams. You'll log your class attendance every class day. And then you will turn in all of your exercises and studios and graded assignments. And I just want to say here, you're not required to, you don't get graded on your prep exercises or your studios, but you should still turn them in because it's an indicator to your IAs and to the rest of us on staff that you're remaining engaged, that you're, staying caught up, getting your work done. It really helps us know how to support you when we can see your activity that way. So just turn everything in, regardless of whether it's graded or not. You can also get links to lecture slides and YouTube playlists and any other resources provided for this cohort. GitHub is where you will commit and push your code. I'm going to talk a little bit more in a bit about what that means to commit and push code, but essentially it's where all your code will be stored. It's also where you will go and get some of your starter code from LaunchCode and then be able to build on it. So you'll just take your links to your own repositories on GitHub and turn those in on Canvas. The course book, of course, is your assigned reading, any instructions for your studio assignments, for your graded assignments, and other helpful resources. You'll find sometimes there's things in appendices and things like that that give you more information and that'll help you have a broader understanding of what it is you're doing and help you install things that you need and stuff like that. Discord is what we're currently using for course communications. The primary channels that I use to make sure that you know what you need to know from me and to be able to interact with you are announcements, lecture questions, lecture resources, and review requests for the days when I will do topical reviews for things that you guys want clarified. You also have your IA group channels here where you'll interact with just the folks in your group with your IA. And then you can write DMs with them, with your peers, with anybody. And there are phone and desktop apps for Discord. So I will leave it up to you to decide kind of what works best for you to stay in touch with everyone. This is really an important kind of heartbeat of the community of LaunchCode, that you stay in touch, that you're not just using it for housekeeping type things or for technical things, but for learning from each other and supporting one another. This is a very important central tool. So I would say stay involved, because you're going to learn a lot from each other as you continue to interact this way. And the other resources would be my website. I've got codewithcarrie.com. This is, let me go to the student resources section down here. This is where I have a ton of practice exercises for the JavaScript unit. And you can filter by topic. You can even filter by graded assignment, because I have some very large tutorials that I did for students when I was an IA that will kind of cover a lot of the major concepts and putting them all together that prepare you for these bigger assignments that you have, the big graded assignments. So, like for example, there's a couple here that would help you prepare for graded assignment 1. Or let's say you just want to know all of the practice exercises that could help solidify your knowledge of strings and arrays. You could come here and, look those up. So feel free to use this as much as you have time for, to give you that extra edge and assist in your understanding of all these concepts. Okay, there are so many extra learning opportunities online. You can find YouTube videos and blogs and articles and tutorials and so many things. So, whatever works for you, you will, start to learn what works for you. I encourage you to branch out and learn wherever you can. All right, during lecture, please, stay engaged and focused. It tends to go pretty fast because we have so much content that I have to cover. And so there's not really going to be time for you to take notes. You're really just going to have to pay attention and listen. And then you can refer to the video later if you would like to review it. And I also make my slides available afterwards so that you can essentially use those as your notes. You will also have access to the code that I have when I have lecture examples, so that you can go and actually look at the code that I was writing as I was teaching. And all of those things will be there for your reference to help you. So I will occasionally stop to take questions, but you can always use that Discord channel lecture questions. And of course, if I ask a question, feel free to speak up and answer, but otherwise keep yourself muted when others are speaking. That works for both Zoom and for when you are in person. Okay, during studio, this is the time you want to collaborate with your classmates. You guys will actually learn more and learn faster when you are working together to figure things out. And take advantage of this time with your IAs too, to be able to ask questions, show them your code, get some guidance. This is really one of the biggest strengths of LaunchCode, is the fact that we have these IAs there, working with you and helping guide you. They're not going to give you the answers, but they are going to help you learn how to learn them, and be a good resource for you anytime you really get stuck. Okay. So during your individual work time, when you're not in studio and you're not in lecture, you need to make sure all your prep work for a chapter is done ahead of lecture, because the lecture, when I teach, I assume that you've already done the reading. I'm going to touch on all of those things to solidify them for you, but I'm also going to build on them. I will sometimes have some extra content. I may even have bonus content that is there solely for the purpose of helping you get ahead on preparing for your graded assignment. So all of that it's really important that you come in already somewhat familiar with the concepts from the reading and the quiz and the exercises. And then you also should use your time outside lecture and studios to work on your graded assignments. This is, critical, and these take a lot of work. So you really want to use your time wisely for those. You will definitely learn more if you don't do your studio exercises ahead of time. Some of you, and I was one of these students who was an overachiever, and I just wanted to try to do as much ahead of time as possible. And then I realized it actually didn't make sense. And I can definitely tell you that now from the perspective of having been an IA and also instructor now, that experience for you in working together with your classmates, it's actually really helpful real life experience because that's how we do things in the real world. Because that's how we do things in the real world. We, work together and get ideas from each other and problem solve together very, very often. So we want you to collaborate and work together to learn. And it helps to come in not really knowing what the problem is, and you will actually find that really valuable experience. Keep an eye on Discord, of course, for anything that we pass along to you, and stay in communication with your IAs. If you kind of are isolating yourself and pulling away and not really communicating, and you haven't turned some things in for a while, your IAs are going to start to get a little bit worried and they might check in on you. Just be proactive. Just kind of let them know how you're doing, what you're up to. When you finish something and you're ready for them to take a look at it, send it their way. A big part of the success at LaunchCode is this community where everyone is supporting one another, learning from each other, and engaging regularly. So no one is alone in this. It's very hard, and you're never alone. So just stay in communication, and absolutely ask for help when you get stuck. You can go in to office hours and things like that to get one-on-one guidance. But all of that, how you spend your time when you're working on your own is going to, make or break this course for you. So time management will be an important thing. The other thing that I want to point out before I move on is that these exercises and the studio assignments and graded assignments that LaunchCode has for you built into the curriculum have an increasing degree of difficulty, and that's by design. The prep exercises are relatively easy. You read the stuff in the chapter, you do them, you probably will get through them, without too much trouble. The studios are more work. This is why we encourage you to collaborate, figure them out together. And then the graded assignments are much more difficult. And you have to do those on your own. This is where you are, showing LaunchCode that you, have learned what we taught you, and that you can, come up with these solutions and problem solve these things yourself. And you're not going to be able to do this unless you've done the first two. So if you are tempted to just kind of gloss over the prep exercises and maybe not fully participate in studio, and not really try to figure it out on your own, and kind of try to get by on your classmates' problem solving, you're cheating yourself, because by the time you get to try to do your graded assignment on your own, you're going to really struggle. So if you focus a lot of energy from the beginning into making sure you get these done, and really participate, and give your all to each of these things, you'll find when you get to the most difficult one that it's a lot easier. At that point, you're prepared for it. Okay, here's what you can expect from me as your instructor. I will have a PDF of the slides available immediately after lecture, and that includes hidden slides, things that you're not seeing right now. I have screenshots of live coded lecture examples and links to my starter code and my solutions, and sometimes a few other things. The lecture questions channel, I will always check that after lecture and respond to anything that maybe I wasn't able to get to live. Lecture and studio review recordings are usually available by the end of class, and those links are provided for you in Canvas. Use the lecture questions channel if you have questions about that studio review too, because that's something you kind of have to watch later on your own time. But I absolutely welcome questions. I don't have comments enabled on YouTube because of spam, so that I do not want to manage. So you can just put it in that channel, and that way I can get back to you about it. I will always, always welcome your feedback about lectures and reviews. And based on feedback I've gotten in the past, here are some things that I kind of want to say so that you understand the line I'm trying to walk. One, there is a lot of content in the curriculum, a very short amount of time to cover it. We really cram a lot in. Because of that, I have to go kind of fast. And I'm not always going to have time to answer all your questions live, but I will try. This is a little bit easier with smaller cohorts, but the really big cohorts, it's impossible for me to get to everybody. I do add, extras in and have, all these live coding examples that I do to show you, demonstrate the concepts to you in the coding. And I walk this line where I want to give you enough extra that it really helps connect the dots for you and, gives you a really strong start, so you'll do well on your graded assignment. But I also don't want to overwhelm you with too much new information. So that's something I try to balance. I will inevitably make mistakes. It'll happen. So just let me know if I need to fix something. If you come across an error somewhere, of any kind, please just reach out to me and let me know. Okay. From my experience, having been a student and then an IA, I have some advice and just general encouragement for getting through this course. First of all, figure out what works. You are the master of your own destiny. You have to figure out how to use your time. And so you have to be strategic and just decide what's going to work for you. When you're working from home, there can be distractions, and you might be uncomfortable or hungry or thirsty, or there's lots of noises that are distracting you, whatever. You need to figure out how to optimize your home learning environment and set aside time at home in a way that you will be able to just focus in and get things done. We've been long enough in the pandemic, since that started now, that a lot of people have learned these skills. When I first started out doing this, it was new for everybody. And so, this is something you may already kind of have a clue how to do this, but if not, I do have a presentation on this on my YouTube channel, and it's also linked on my website. So, if you're curious to know kind of some tips and tricks for how to make this better, you can take a look at that. Go find additional resources for learning. My videos and exercises and things are great, but there's lots more out there. You will figure out whether you prefer just, following along with a step-by-step tutorial, or doing lots of practice problems, or watching YouTube videos, or whatever. Or maybe you want to do a little bit of everything. But, figure that out and go find those things and just do whatever helps you learn. Be kind to yourself. Okay, so I say this because this course is extremely hard, and you're going to have lots of feelings. And one of those is going to be discomfort, or even pain, because learning curves are so painful and you're learning so much so fast. And you're going to constantly feel like, I don't know if I can do this. That's normal. So learn how to sit with that discomfort. The sooner that you accept that, the easier it's going to get for you to get through it. So, you're not alone in this. Everything you're feeling is normal. And all of these little tiny changes that you're making are going to produce really, really big results. You may not see it right away, but later you're going to look back and be like, wow, I cannot believe how much I learned. This is amazing. You really will see it. And then, of course, enjoy the process. Coding can be super fun. It often is super fun. So I encourage you to just have fun. Just, have fun learning and understanding that that process itself is what you spend most of your time on, not achieving the final result. So, find ways to do that. Find ways to enjoy it. Okay, have an extended support system. So, you've got friends and family, right? And they may not be doing this course, you are, and they may not entirely understand what it is you're trying to do. So tell them, explain to them, I'm doing this really, really hard thing, and I'm going to need support. And, just help them try to understand, give them a window into what it is that you're doing so that they can start to understand how you're going to need support while you're doing this. And, protect your relationships. And I say that because when we're stressed out and really overwhelmed, sometimes the people that we're closest to are the people that we hurt unintentionally because we just take out our frustrations or our exhaustion or whatever it is, and it can hurt the people around us. So be mindful of that and just protect your relationships, because these people are going to be with you for a very, very, very long time. LaunchCode is a very short part of your life. It's very difficult, but it is, finite. It's a limited amount of time. If you can get through it, it's going to serve you really, really well for the future. And so you want to just make sure that you're paying attention to that. And just have honest conversations. You tell them what you need from them to support you during this time, and then also ask them, what do you need from me? Because everyone is sacrificing something in this process. It's the way that it is. So you're going to have to, just be honest about that, talk about it, and, get through all of this the best you can. And then, of course, within LaunchCode, you can be there for each other because LaunchCode is a community. None of you are alone, even if you feel like it. It's not true. That's a lie. Build your teammates up, in your groups or just your study groups or whatever, on Discord when you're talking to each other and sharing resources and asking questions. You can absolutely learn from each other. That is the strength of this community. Everyone benefits because everyone's learning from each other constantly as you interact and, are willing to ask questions and also answer questions. Bottom line, decide today to commit yourself to putting in the effort for this course, and it is a lot of effort. But you do that and you are very likely to succeed because that really is what it takes. You just stay committed, know that you're in it for the long haul, which isn't very long at all, but it's hard. So, gotta get your mindset now and just keep pushing forward, and you're gonna do this thing. Okay, I would like to move into the part where I talk about some of the technical things. So let's talk about intro to coding. I'm going to talk for a second about Visual Studio Code, the terminal, Node, NPM, and Git and GitHub. Okay. Actually, we'll get to VS Code in a second. So the terminal is, the command line interface. This is something that a lot of people don't think about, but developers use this every single day to install things, run things, manage programs, and manage data from this command line interface. And you might, be installing software or dependencies. There's different package managers. NPM is the one we're going to use. I'll talk more about it in a little bit. You can also manage version control. So I'll talk about Git a little bit more in a while. And then, of course, you can run JavaScript files. And later in this unit, we will learn React. You'll be able to run your React applications all right here from the command prompt. It looks old school. It is not old school. I mean, it is, but it's actually what people use every single day. So you're going to need to get comfortable with some of these basic commands. So I'm going to first just talk about where you would open it from, so you know how to get to it. You can certainly open the terminal that's provided by your operating system. It'll be built in. On my Mac, it looks like this, and I open it up and it looks like this. Or when you're using VS Code, you can open a terminal inside there as well, and it'll be in the bottom panel. The terminal itself can be opened directly from the menu in VS Code, or it can be opened with Control backtick, and that is for both Mac and PC. The bottom panel that has the terminal in it, that panel itself can be toggled with Command J on Mac or Control J on PC. That's my favorite way to do it because even if it's not on the terminal, I can get to the terminal, but it's a lot easier to just quickly do so that I can, pull it up when I need it and then put it back down when I want to just be able to look at my code and not have it taking up space on my screen. So hold tight. I'm going to show you what this looks like in VS Code in just a minute. First, I would like to talk about the basic commands of the terminal and get through some of these. So ls will list the contents of the current directory. CD allows you to change directory. There's some different ways to use CD. One is to say, CD into this directory, right? Or you can say CD dot dot, and then however many slashes and dot dots you add takes you back that many directories if you want to go back up, further in the tree. If you just use CD without anything after it, it takes you all the way back to the root. mkdir will create a new directory if you need one. And then there's a whole bunch of others. You're going to learn more when we get to chapter 19. We're going to go through a lot more commands, but I wanted to show you kind of the basics for today. and also some of the helpful shortcuts. So let's say you started typing something in and it's not what you meant to type. You can just use Control-C. Or you start some process and then you realize, I don't actually want to finish this process, but it's still going and you don't have your prompt back yet, hit Control-C. That's for both Mac and PC as well, Control-C. While you're typing, you can use Tab to autocomplete a directory name or a file name. If it's there, it'll be able to autocomplete it. I will show you how this works. And then you also can use up and down arrows to cycle through previous commands. So maybe you typed something really long in, and you don't want to have to type it all from scratch again. Just use up and down to find it. And then you can just hit enter and it'll go through again. Sometimes you're going to find that there's more content than will fit on the current screen. And if you see a colon at the end, that means that it has more pages to show you. You can use the space bar to go to the next page. And then if you're just ready to exit back and get your prompt back, use Q, because Control-C will not work when you're in this mode, but Q will. Okay, I am going to demonstrate all of this. Some of it will come up a little bit later, but for now, let's just do some basics. So here I am in my terminal on my Mac, just the one that comes with my operating system. And I'm at my root directory, and you can see I've customized my prompt. Don't worry about that. You don't have to do that. You can do it later if you want to put the work into it. For now, I'm going to use pwd, which was not on my slide, but that is the present working directory. So I can see that I'm at /users/crj. Okay, cool. I'm going to use the CD directory because I want to change directory and go to coding/launchcode/lecture examples. And let's see what's in here. Okay, so I have 3 folders. I've got my Unit 1 JavaScript, Unit 2 C#, and Unit 2 Java folders. I want to go to JavaScript. So I'm going to start typing that in and then hit Tab, and it auto-completed it for me. And then here I've got some old stuff, and then I've got my current repository where I have all of my lecture examples for this part of the unit. So JavaScript lecture examples, good. Let's see if I can, I think from here, if I wanted to open this in VS Code, I could do that. I have things configured where I can use the code command and actually open it. If I'm not inside of this, if I'm out here and I'm just looking at it, it's in the directory with me, I would need to do it by name like this. But let me Control-C that because I want to actually do it a little differently. I'm going to actually move into that directory. And now I'll show you, it's got all of these different directories, right, that have the exercises for different chapters that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. From here, if I wanted to still open this entire thing, JavaScript lecture examples, this is where I can use code and just use dot. And that will open it up in VS Code. Look at that. Okay, if you don't have that configured yet for your computer, just work with your IA. They'll help you figure it out. Or you can just Google it. There's lots of resources out there to learn how to do that. But you can see here, I've got all of my directories, and I've got some stuff for chapter 3, stuff for chapter 4. And yeah, so from here, I can open this bottom panel again with Command J on my Mac and toggle that open and close. And you can see the terminal is one of the things that's in this bottom panel. If you have a lot of code in front of you, it can be really useful just to get it out of the way. You can also open the terminal from up the top and just say new terminal from the menu. You can do the control backtick and that'll open it up. So again, lots of choices for how to get in and out of it. Let's talk about how to run JavaScript, because we have a JavaScript file here that we could run from the console. So Node is something that you need to install from the instructions in the course book. And then once you have it, you can run your JavaScript files right there in the terminal. So you just need to make sure you're in the directory where the file is, and then use the command node and the file name, and that'll execute the file. Let's try it. So right now, if I open up my terminal, I am in the JavaScript lecture examples repository. So I'm actually in this entire thing. And the file I want to run is actually inside the chapter 3 directory. So I'm going to go ahead and just CD into chapter 3. And now that I'm here, you can see, here's these same 2 files that I have right here, right? So I'll just go ahead and type node console practice.js and hit enter. And there we have it. Welcome to LaunchCode, everyone. So in chapter 3, you learned about the console.log function here that allows you to print things to the console and have output from your program. So I just had this little string in here that I passed into that, and there it came out when I ran the program. Okay, so that's all there is to that. Let's do one more. Let's write some new code, do console.log. And the idea here is that we want to print our city and our state on 2 lines, but we only want to have 1 line of code to do it. We can use this new line character \n to do it. So I'm going to say, St. Louis, let me put a space in there, and then do \n Missouri. And then I'll come back down here and run it again. So I'm going to use the up arrow this time because I don't want to have to type in node console practice.js again. So I use the up arrow and there it is. You can see I can cycle through these as much as I want to from previous commands that I made. So let's run this. And there we have it. Welcome to LaunchCode, everyone, St. Louis and Missouri. So even though this was one line of code, because of that new line character, it put Missouri on the next line. All right. So let's say you have some dependencies that need to be installed. This is going to come up pretty soon with some of the things you're working on. So I wanted to make sure to demonstrate this for you. NPM is the package manager we're using. You will mostly use it just to install these dependencies needed. And you'll know that it needs to be done because you'll see a package.json file. And you'll use this command npm install, or npm I is the short version of that. And you just have to be in the directory where that file is. That's important. And then once you've done it and it's successfully installed, you'll see 2 things pop up, a node modules directory and a package lock.json file. So let me show you how that works. Over here in my chapter 4 folder. So these are going to be the things we do for the next lecture on data and variables. But I've got this package.json file, which you don't really need to understand this right now. It's fine. But you can see it's got this section of dependencies and it says read line sync. That's a library that we need in order to accept user input and actually interact with somebody in the console, where we can ask them a question and they can answer back. So in order to make that work, we have to install this. So I'm going to make sure that I'm not in the chapter 3 directory, but in the chapter 4 directory. So I'm going to cd, I'm going to say .. to take me backwards, and then say chapter 4 to be where I want to be. And now you see I'm in chapter 4. So this is where that package.json file is. So I'm going to do npm install. And you saw that flash really, really quickly. It did not take long because it's just this one little library. There are going to be times where you add something bigger and it takes a little longer, and that's normal. But it says, added 1 package, audited 2 packages in 464 milliseconds. Pretty fast. So there we go, less than half a second. So yeah, let's see. Now you see the package lock.json file up here, and you also see node modules. I do want to point out these are in gray, and you might wonder, why are they in gray? That's because I went to my git ignore file, which is down here from my repository, and I added these 2 lines here that have the double asterisk, which basically means in any directory anywhere, it doesn't matter whether it's at the top level or not. Any directory, if you come across a node modules directory, or if you come across a package lock.json file, ignore them and don't include them with the code that we want to keep track of. And when I talk about Git in a minute, this will make more sense. But that is why that is grayed out, because I don't have any intention of having that code be tracked on the internet when I back it up online. It really can just stay on my local machine. So that's why that's that way. Okay, so now let's talk about Git and GitHub. Git is a technology that allows you to track your code over time. You can take snapshots, essentially, of different versions of the code that exist at different points along the way as you're making changes. That's why it's called a version control system. Git is the most widely used VCS by far. And we call it a repository when it holds all of the code you wish to track. And you don't really need to worry about creating your own branches or merging branches or anything like that yet. That'll come later. For now, you're just going to need to know how to use them. So we're going to teach you the basic commands that you need just to get your work done for now, and then you'll start learning more as the course unfolds. Conceptually, the difference between local and remote repositories is this. You will be writing your code on your local machine. And so when you have a Git repository locally, it keeps track of the changes you're making on your computer. And you'll have a working copy and then the repository itself, so that you can decide what you want to take snapshots of with commits, and what you just kind of want to still be in flux. And on the other hand, the remote repo is hosted online, and you can link it so that you can pass code back and forth between the two. This has a number of benefits. One is just being able to keep a backup copy of your code somewhere other than your computer, right? But another is to be able to collaborate with others. When we get to chapter 22, you're going to have a studio assignment where you get to practice doing that, where two of you are contributing to the same repository. But for now, you're just going to be working on your own, and that's fine. But as you get more accustomed to this idea of collaboration, you also could be contributing to community projects that are out there. So that's something to keep in mind. The most common places to store code are GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. We will be using GitHub. And so let's talk about how this works. I mean, let's say JavaScript has a repo out there, or I have a repo out there. I've got my JavaScript lecture examples repo that you very well might want to fork. This is something that you can go and create your very own copy. And so you just need to go to the main page of the other person's repo and click on that fork button, because you can't make changes and push changes to their repository. You need to have your own copy. So fork is the very first thing you want to do. If I come over to here, I think, yeah, LaunchCode has this repository here, HTML me something. You'll be getting to this eventually. It's graded assignment number 4. I happen to not have this one on my computer right now, so I'm going to use this as a way to show you what it looks like to go through this process. The very first thing is this fork button over here. Let's talk about it. When you are in the process of forking, you can keep the existing name or you can edit it. The description's optional, but you can certainly put something there. And they have this checkbox, copy the main branch only. But if the repository you're copying from has multiple branches and you are eventually going to need to access them, which is going to happen later in the course, you want to make sure that you uncheck that box. So I'll show you what this looks like here. And then you kind of see me walk through it. Okay, so I'm on LaunchCode's repo, right? I come over here to fork, I click on that, and it gives me this menu here, or this little form to fill out. I'm the owner. If I want to rename it, I could, or I can just keep this name, that's fine. If I want a description, I can put it here. Here's where it says copy the main branch only. And I'm going to say, no, actually, maybe there are some other branches out there that I need to access. I'm going to uncheck that and make sure I have them now so that I don't have to go try to get them later, which is a little bit of work. So you can always do that. If you know for sure that there's only a main branch and that's all you ever need, then you can leave it checked. That's fine. It's up to you. So this is now going to create this in my account. So you'll notice at the top, it now says HTML me something start is part of Carolista. That's my username. This is how you can tell, and it says here, forked from LaunchCode Education. So you can definitely tell it's not their original repo, it's mine, my copy. So that's step number 1. Then from there, if you have forked something from LaunchCode, you need to enable GitHub Actions. This is very important because you don't want to start working with the code locally and pushing code back up to your forked copy until you've enabled this. So do this first. Go to the Actions tab and click on this large green button to enable the workflows, and then you should see the workflow on the left, and it's probably going to say auto grading. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to come here to actions and say, I understand my workflows. Go ahead and enable them. And it says actions enabled, and I can close this little notification. And then you see here, the workflow is auto grading, and it's going to, when you submit code and push it up from your local machine, it's going to automatically run, some files that LaunchCode has in place to just make sure everything is what it is. Now, I don't have something prepared to show you what this looks like right now, but let me just say, every developer lives for the green check because it's so exciting to have your code go through and pass all the checks and everything's good. You'll have a limited number of things you have to pass while you're a student for these purposes, but it's okay if you don't get the green check the first few times. It's really fine. It's normal for you, you might just be pushing your code up to here just so your IA can take a look at it so that they can, give you some feedback on something. So, maybe it's not passing all the tests yet. That's okay. Go ahead and push it up anyway. There's no shame in having it, fail and be like red, with failure. But ultimately, your goal is to get everything green. So that's really all I need to say about that. Then you can clone. Now that you've done this, you want to clone and get this code down to your local machine. So when you're ready, go to your copy of the repository, your forked copy, and click on the button marked code right here. And then you should be on the local tab, and then you can hit this copy to clipboard button and then decide where to put it. So let me do this part for you here. I'm going to go back to the main page, and then here click on code. I'm on the local tab, and I see the link right here that I need to clone. So I'm going to copy that URL to my clipboard. It says I've copied. Good. So the next thing is, where do you put it on your machine, right? So you want to go to some place where you keep your projects. I recommend that for your the duration of your time at LaunchCode, you have like a single folder called like LaunchCode projects or something, where you put all of the repos that you do with the different projects you're doing for LaunchCode. And just the important thing is to put them all side by side in the same directory and don't put them inside each other. You have to make sure you're not inside another repository, or Git does not know what to do. It gets very confused, and it's very difficult to extricate one repository from another once you've started trying to make commits and things. It gets really messy. So just put them all in the same place typically, but wherever you want the project itself as a whole to exist, that's the directory you want to be in when you clone it. And you use this git clone command, and then just use that link that you copied from GitHub, and it will create the folder in that directory, and then you'll have access to that, and all of the files that are part of the repository will be inside that directory. So then you can navigate into that directory once it's been created. If you're in a situation where you haven't forked code from somebody, like maybe there's no starter code, maybe you just went and created your own GitHub repository for a new project you want to start. Basically, you just want to make sure that whatever that new directory is that was created when you cloned, that's where all the files that you want to track need to be, or inside that. All right, let's take a look at how this works. I'm actually going to go back to here, and this time I'm just going to cd back to my root, and I'm going to cd into coding/launchcode/GA intros, which is where I keep stuff related to the introductions I do for graded assignments. Yes, and I want to cd into code here. Okay, so if we take a look at this, you can see I've got a bunch of the other graded assignments. I've got repositories already cloned here, but I don't have HTML something. So let's do this. Git clone, and I'll paste the link and hit enter. It says it's cloning. It goes to the remote repository and gets all the code. It receives them. It's 100% done. And now if I do another ls, we see it right here. So now that it's here, I can go into it, and I can see all these files that exist in there. So this is great. So I'm going to do another code dot so that I can get a different instance of VS Code here now, just dedicated to this project. So I have the one over here from this one, and now I have, two of them. So this shows me all these files. You don't need to worry about these files. This is something it comes later on, but I just wanted to show you this as an example. And of course, you can open up the terminal here and see that you're already in this directory. So you're good to go. Okay, I'm going to close that because we're actually going to come back to work with this one for a second. All right, so how do you go about keeping track of your code? How do you take these snapshots, make these commits? Anytime you're ready to take a snapshot of your code so that you can save it right where it is, the version that you have, and keep track of that and refer to it later, you make this commit, and you want to do this often, which is hard to get used to doing in the beginning when you're new at this, but I guarantee you, something will happen somewhere along the way that makes you wish that you had made a commit sooner. So I would say get in the habit now of making commits often. Just do it. That way you have small changes, just a few changes at a time that are encapsulated in a commit. And if you have something really big go wrong, you can narrow that down where that happened at some point and change just that code. So here's the process though to actually do this. First, you do a git status command that will tell you here are the files that need to be staged. Ideally, you want to make sure that you're doing this in a directory that is at or above any files that have been changed. Otherwise, when you go to stage them, which means to mark them as being included in the commit, they'll actually get included. Git add is how you do that. Git add is how you stage. You can do it with multiple file names after git add, or you can use a dot to just stage anything that has changes, period. Use this carefully because there might be times where you don't really intend to commit everything in the same commit. So you can do it file by file if you want to. Then once you've done that, use git status to verify that the things you think have been staged have in fact been staged. And if they have, they'll be in green. Otherwise, if you got things that still didn't make it in, whether you intended for them to or not, they'll still be in red. And then finally, when you're ready, you can do a git commit with a -m flag for a message, and then just put that message in quotes. Typically, what people do for this sort of thing is use some sort of a verb that describes what it is they did, and you can be concise, but also be specific, because later you might have a dozen commits that you've done recently, and if you need to go back and look at what the changes were at that stage, you're going to need to be able to tell the difference between the commits. So don't be super generic and say something like added more code, added yet more code. You need to be specific. I'll model this for you in a second. But that's pretty much it. And then if you want to see a history of all your commits, you can use git log. Okay, let's do a little bit of this. So we have made some changes, and you can see that because this file is marked in VS Code in a different color, which I can also come over here to this section, to the source control section, and see that there are changes. And it's telling me you've got, this console practice file has changes. If I want to see what those changes are, I can click on this. It shows me the working tree in a new tab. And I can see this is what it was before, and this is what it is now, and examine, those changes. And of course, this is the only change I have, just one line of code in this particular instance. So if I'm ready to, deal with that, we can come down here, and I need to make sure, I'm in the chapter 4 folder right now, right? Because we were installing those dependencies. I need to come up a level so that I can make sure that chapter 3 will be included. Because if I do a git status right now, you'll notice it says .. I could try to do git add dot, and if I do a git status again, it's still not included, right? That's because we're not in a directory that includes that file. So we need to move up. I'm gonna do cd .. to go up one level. And now, when I do git status, you see, it's definitely something that we have direct access to, and I can do git add and dot to just include the whole file. And now when I do git status, we're going to see that file is green, which means it's been staged. Now, let's say you have one or more files that you did not intend to stage. You don't want it to be included in this commit. You can use this command right here, git restore -- staged, and then the file name, and that will remove it, but still leave all of the rest of the files that are staged. So just keep that in mind if you ever need it, and you probably will at some point. You can use that, and all you have to do to remember what this is just do a git status, and it tells you right here. So once I'm ready, I can do a git commit -m, and I'm going to, just use something descriptive. I'm going to say, you know, added solution code to chapter 3. Example for, node or something like that. Okay. So you'll notice I used a past tense verb. Some developers prefer to use ing verbs. They'll say adding solution code. It's really just kind of up to you. I tend to prefer to say it in terms of past tense. This is what I did as part of this commit. So I do it in past tense, but not everybody does. It's okay. I hit enter and it says one file changed, one insertion, because there was literally just the one line of code that got inserted. And now you'll notice that the file is no longer a different color. If I come over here, there's no changes. It just notes that I have an outgoing commit that has not been pushed. So if I come back and do a git status now, it'll say your branch is ahead of origin chapter 3 demo by one commit. Because I have made a commit here that does not exist on the remote repository. So it tells me you need to, use git push to publish. So that is the next stage here. When you're ready to push your code up to your remote repo, you just make sure you're in the directory you need to be in, and then commit anything that needs to be committed. When you're in main, it's usually already linked to origin main, so you don't have to do anything special. Later, when you learn how to work with other branches, there will be something you might have to do the very first time to set that link. But for main, you'll be fine. And then you just use git push and it'll send it. So that's all I have to do. This one, I've already got, even though I'm not using main, I'm using a special branch. It's already linked, so all I have to do is git push. Okay, just like that. So it says it went through, it did it, and it even tells me where it sent it to, the link here. You can control click or command click this, by the way, and it'll open it up in the browser for you, which is pretty cool. And then you see this hash, right? This is the identification of this particular commit. If I do a git log, I can see the hashes of all of the most recent commits. And here's that colon I was telling you about, where you can see that there's more information than will show in one, little bit of screen here. So if I hit the space button, it'll continue to show me more of the commits that were before this. And I've had this repository for a long time with lots of different, chapters and code added. So I've got a lot of commits. If I'm ready to exit this, I can just hit Q, and that takes me back to my prompt. Okay. So now we can go to GitHub and verify that the code has been pushed. Here's my JavaScript lecture examples. I can switch over to that chapter 3 demo branch here. And by the way, if you're ever coming in here to look at my solutions, this is how you can see that code, is to just switch to the solution branch like that. But I'm going to go to chapter 3 demo, and yeah, notice I've got console.log St. Louis, Missouri. I've got this line of code here now. And if I go, okay, if I go to the history here, and you can see there's that short hash, I can click on this. It actually shows me that this is called a diff, the difference between what it used to be and what was changed as a result of this commit. So this is a good thing to know how to do. If you can get real comfortable with using some of these tools to look at your code, you're going to be really well prepared to walk into a job professionally, having a lot of these types of skills down, because this is the kind of thing you need to do every single day, especially in a more complex code base. There'll be, hundreds of lines of codes and hundreds of files. And these kinds of tools are really important for being able to see where the changes are. So that's pretty much it. I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you next time.